It's time now for a look at the day's business news with Catherine Bennett from our business desk, who joins me here in the studio. Now, Catherine, the US President-elect Joe Biden has said that he'll be laying out his economic plan for the US next Thursday. But do we have any idea yet of the main points of that speech?
Well, what we do know from what he said, we certainly have an indication of his economic priorities, at least. So here's what we do know. We know that he's not going to be holding back. He says that his relief package will reach trillions of dollars. Now, that hefty price tag will scale up unemployment insurance and include the possibility to postpone rent payments for people who need it. He's also insisted on the need for direct relief flowing to families, including those $2,000 stimulus checks that were so contentious in the relief package recently agreed in Congress. Now, his plan will focus on women-owned and minority-owned businesses. And he reiterated his desire to see the federal minimum wage, currently at $7.25 an hour, to be more than doubled to $15 an hour. Now, one thing that came out quite strongly from his speech is how urgent he sees the current economic situation. He wants to open US coffers now, open them wide, to make sure it doesn't hurt later on. Now, part of this urgency comes from the latest US jobs figures that came out today. They showed that the US economy shed 140,000 jobs in December, led by the leisure and hospitality sector. And this data means that the unemployment rate is staying at the same high level of 6.7%. Nearly 11 million people are still out of work. Now, Biden said that this jobs report is in many ways a report on the pandemic itself.
In the midst of this pandemic, there are millions of people out of work, unable to pay their rent or their mortgage. They're waiting in line for hours to get food from a food bank. The bottom line is the job report shows we need to provide more immediate relief for working families and businesses now.
Well, those promises from Biden have given a boost to the markets just before closing. US stocks have ended the first week of the year on a high note after traders spent the session balancing that disappointing jobs report with the prospect of more fiscal support. The Dow Jones rose in the last minutes of trading to close at 0.5%. The S&P 500 also made back losses from earlier in the night, up over 0.5%. And the Nasdaq reached an all-time high in trading today, finishing up over 1%. There's a time-honoured tradition of young French people crossing the Channel to go to the UK to pick up a job. Working in a pub or being an au pair for a few months or even a year is a way to get some money and learn English while they're doing it. But Brexit could spell the end of odd jobs like that. Monty Francis and our colleagues from France 2 have more.
For many young people in France, it's an opportunity fading before their eyes. Jobs in the tourism sector, at hotels and restaurants, and for those who work as au pairs in the UK, things just got a lot more complicated. In the heart of London, in an upscale restaurant, this bartender is from Nantes. He arrived last September before the new rules went into effect. In just 2 weeks, he found a job in spite of the pandemic.
Londres, c'est la capitale mondiale du cocktail. C'était à la fois pour améliorer mon anglais, mais aussi pour apprendre des meilleurs.
To get the same job after Brexit, he would have to get a visa. It requires a fee of €700 and a 2-month wait without any guarantees. Nothing like when he arrived not that long ago.
Ça s'est fait très vite. Sur 3 semaines, j'ai décidé de partir. S'il avait fallu avoir un visa, je pense pas que j'aurais eu le temps, ni l'envie, ni la motivation.
The UK work permit is now under a point system like in Australia. 70 points are needed. You get 10 points for speaking English well, 20 points for a job offer, an additional 20 for a job offer with an annual salary of more than €30,000, and 20 for a job in a sector where workers are needed. A number of employers are hoping for an exemption from the point system for the next few months, so the job market will have a chance to recover.
Hundreds of British businesses have suspended exports to the EU as they trip over the fine print in the Brexit deal. Boris Johnson's tariff-free trade deal does not extend to food and clothing products that do not qualify as made in Britain, it seems, and they could be hit by extra tariffs. Earlier this week, we saw images of empty shelves in branches of the British supermarket Marks & Spencer in Paris, as the company struggled to wade through the customs paperwork required to get its products over the border. Now, the company has has warned that about a third of the products in its food section could face new import taxes when re-exporting to the EU. And it's not just food stores. The courier service, DPD, has also been affected, suspending all deliveries for the time being while it reviews its operations. So not the most streamlined of trade between the two countries at the moment.
Absolutely not. And one of my favourite shops in Paris, Marks and Spencer, where I go for
Isn't
all
it
my
sad?
favourite English goods. But Catherine Bennett with the latest business news. Thank you very much. Well, that brings another 30 minutes of our programme to a close. But do stay with us here on France 24. There's more world news coming up for you after the break.